old live stream going.
Oh, my glasses.
You're going to do first, all of us.
What have we done recently?
If I'm slightly further away, is that
I
a problem?
think
Because
we
I
should
have to
do
fold it in
the
front of me.
Hebrew first.
Am I too far away now? Or
Is that right?
Okay, fine.
So do the blessing, then I'll do the Hebrew, and then you do the
I'm kind
English.
of doing that then, and that's going to be really uncomfortable.
And the blessing. I've got a couple of copies of it if one person like Hannah wants to follow along and check it.
Are we switched on here? Are you switched on?
I think this is switched on now, yeah. Are we still muted?
Have you got the Torah?
No, we can hear you.
You can
Okay.
hear me?
But just tell me if I make any really egregious
Goes
mistakes.
very well.
Sorry?
If I make any really
Hello, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's good, Kevin.
Oh, good. Stephen, have you got the screen share?
It's basically only.
Yes.
Only if it really changes.
I do.
Good.
Changes the meaning, basically.
Sent by Joseph.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Anything else to think of? Oh, yeah, and with the notices,
Hannah was rabbi as well.
Well, you
Right.
do anyway, yeah.
This very light, didn't they, this time?
Rania, did you get on? Because I know I've got the message later. that
Get a
you
bit
haven't-
closer, Kevin, to the microphone.
Okay, Rania, you obviously got on last night.
Yeah, but I couldn't. So that's why I sent you the message.
Yeah, but I didn't. I only saw it afterwards that you could
Yeah,
get
don't
on.
worry.
But you got on. You got on somehow.
I got
And I
on,
did,
yeah.
unfortunately, I was really distracted with something last night, so I couldn't really enjoy the service. That's why I was in and out. But that's another story. But I'm focused now. Thank you, Linda, for stepping in last night as well. I was a bit.
It's all right.
That's good. We're good.
That's, yeah, the reason I've opened it again.
Yeah, I know. Right into the mic.
Right.
So is it, it's
So after this.
after that?
Yes.
So,
That is
Pat and
precisely
Paul,
what
you're a
I
bit
was
warmer
trying
than normal. Yeah. It's we have to, because of ventilation, we're all very cold.
Oh,
Linda, hello. I just
Hello.
wanted to say we've come to Yitro, which is a very special portion for those of us who were on the Ballet Tefillah course, if you remember. Didn't you have Yitro as your portion that you had to write your sermon on?
I don't think so. I
No?
think my sermon was on Kitisa.
Ah, so it was a week later or so.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we went in February when I did it.
Ah, well, it changes every year depending if you've got the extra
Yeah.
month. But Yitro was my portion throughout the year, and I've always had a soft spot for him ever since.
And I'm sure mine was Kitisa.
I'm sure you're right. I just wondered. And many happy returns of this very special day.
yes, I was going to say, yes. Yes, Linda, happy birthday.
Ah. Morning, Maureen. Can't hear you, but it's okay. I can read your lips.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good evening, Maureen.
Let's discuss that.
Morning, Aoife.
Okay, so
Shabbat shalom, Aoife.
Morning.
Morning.
Lovely to see your smiling face.
Morning, George and Mary.
Morning, Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Rania. Maybe we'll meet
Hi,
you.
George.
Hi, nice to see you all.
Nice to see you. Oh.
That was me. Sorry.
So it seems like it's going to be a quieter morning today.
Vera and Bernie, they're the two people.
They knew it was me, so people stayed at home. But I did emphasise Felicity was coming, I knew that would be more attractive.
I mean, overall, you think of people on screen as well.
I'm fine with it. I'm only.
You don't mind, you're not a number cruncher.
I'm only joking.
It's the quality, not quantity.
Yeah, sadly.
Never mind. Well, on every account, that is. So we'll give it another tip. Vera's
Sorry,
here.
I didn't hear you well.
Do we know how Maria is? She hasn't been on Zoom.
Right. Shall we? What I'll do is I'll allocate a few mitzvahs for just like the royal family and all that.
Yeah,
I'll do that now.
by all means.
Yeah.
Vera's just coming in.
Hello, can you hear me? We need you Zoomites, some volunteers in the warmth. We're warm as well, of course. It's all the hot air. Who would like to do the blessing for the government? We're all laughing. And the whole family. Prince Andrew and Boris, Tasmania.
That line is always relevant somehow.
Yeah, and the French government as well.
Ooh, I don't know about that. No.
No, definitely not. So, okay. And we've got the community, the virtual and the real community. Any volunteers? Don't rush.
Yeah. Okay, I will.
I could say, Paul, yeah, Maureen was just ahead of Paul. So that's the community and the state of Israel. I'd like George to do one. And we'll pick on Paul at some stage, random stage, shall we? Paul's
Okay, I'll leave that to you to do.
I think Aoife had her hand up as well, Kevin.
Oh, did you? Sorry, Aoife.
Well,
right.
You could you've got a siddur, I take it, Aoife, have you?
We can find.
We'll find something for you.
I'll find you a reason.
Don't worry.
That's all right.
How about reading the Torah portion without vowels? How about that?
Oh dear.
What's confusing you?
Nothing serious.
I think.
Right.
I didn't have any congregation yet. They got no congregation.
Taking my coat off again and see how it goes.
Once you get going,
I think you've got the scarf, which is I think keep the scarf. You're going to demask when it comes to singing.
Yeah. I did sound check without.
Behind you, there's all these like reading teaching,
I'm fine.
which I find really hard. You've got this trigraph and digraph, and I have like no idea about it. You probably do, as I say.
I mean,
No, none of us did, I think.
No, I didn't.
I think
Joseph,
Hello, Linda.
apparently,
Yes.
a digraph where you've got two letters that blend to make a sound, and a trigraph is, I think it's three letters that make one sound, or something like that.
Okay.
so like the.
Are you a teacher?
I was, but
Oh, you were?
there's a site I follow on Twitter, and they just happened to be talking about that the other day. So
Yeah.
Right. It's now 5 past, I think.
You think everyone that's coming has come?
Yeah, I think everyone's seen who's come, so.
Have you? You shut the gate?
How's Bernie going to get
Wait.
in there?
Well, is he coming?
Yes.
Are you supposed? Why are we shutting the gate?
Why are you shutting the gate? To stop anyone from
Yes, I think we should shut the gate, yes.
Yeah, but how can Bernie get in then?
Well,
I'm not gonna get involved.
It's okay.
And he's particularly
Yeah.
No, we need, if Bernie's come, people. So if you're a latecomer, Bernie's booked to come in, and you might not be able to get in.
Let me go and talk to the caretaker.
So something, yeah.
yes, if the caretaker can get in, there's a button to press, isn't there?
Where is the button?
On the gate, I mean, isn't it?
I'm going to check this. So.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
is.
let's go check it.
Okay, just wait. I'm gonna wait a second then to
I
start.
think it's on the drive, you come in on the driver's side, of course.
I don't think it's worth it. It's not worth it.
No. But who's he got?
Well, where? That's people online. It's online, isn't it? How many?
But there's none.
Who's M on the screen?
Mark.
Who's
Ariel.
Right.
that's with
It's quite kind of Bond-like, isn't it? It just.
There's quite an echo when
Yeah,
we
I'm listening to.
on Zoom at the moment. I think it's maybe the sound equipment at your end feeding back to Zoom. Oh, that's one way of fixing it.
It's in Zoom, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's in the sound settings of Zoom. I mean. I mean, it's the arrow next to them. Okay. I know that one.
It was off for some reason.
The echo.
Yeah.
Is that better now?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Okay.
I think we'll
begin.
Yeah. Sorry for the delay. Okay, are you all ready? So
Yes,
it's
is it-
over to
everyone on Zoom
Joseph.
can mute, please.
Yep. And it's over to Joseph, his first in-person service, which you've been desperate to do for at least 2.5 years.
Is it 2.5 years?
No, it seems
Not
like
quite
that.
that. Yeah. Not quite that long.
Nearly 2 years, I should say.
So hi everybody, Shabbat Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone in the room, and Shabbat Shalom to all of you on Zoom. We got possibly more on Zoom. No, I can't quite do the maths, but we're about even. We're kind of balanced in our Zoom in the room congregation. So we are one congregation despite our our distances. So it's really lovely to be here, we're going to be reading Service 3. It's lovely to have Felicity with us singing to enhance the music. So we are going to begin with Ma Tovu on page 117. 117. And If you'd like to stand, then you're free to do so. But I'm going to play.
Israel, ma tovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Israel, V'ani b'rav chesdecha, avovetecha, eshtav elecha l'kodshecha, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, Adonai Avti me'an betecha, u'makom Mishkan Kavodecha, Mishkan Kavodecha, V'ani eshtachaveh, Ve'ekra Evercha lifnei Adonai Ozi, ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, V'ani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim b'rav chesdecha, Elohim b'rav chesdecha, aneni be'emet yishecha, ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkalotecha Yisrael, Mishkalotecha Yisrael. And please be seated. For someone, Aoife, you wanted to do reading, perhaps at the foot of 117, perhaps you could read for us. Unmute and read for us. Thank you.
All right, we thank you, O God, that one.
Yep.
We thank you, O God, for this new day, for morning sun and evening star, for flowering of tree and flowing of tide, for life-giving rains and cooling breezes, for the changing seasons, for the cycle of growth and decay, of life and death. We awake and behold a new day. O God, renew us unto life. Teach us to recognize your presence in creation. Grateful for your gifts, may we dedicate all our powers to your service.
Thank you very much. So we're now on page 118. Just running over. Yeah. Let's read this responsively in the Hebrew blessings. The blessings for the new day, the blessings of gratitude for a new day. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish chaborim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. It's okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa li kol tzaki.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'enai utnuma me'apapai. Baruch atah, Baruch shama v'haya haolam, Baruch hu, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המהולל בפי עמו, משובע ומפואר בשל חסידיו ועבדיו. בשפחות ובזמירות, נגד לך ונמליכך, מלכנו יחיד העולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מחולל בתשבחות. And would someone like to read the foot of 119? Perhaps another person on the screen. The foot of 119. Yeah, Stephen, that'd be great. All the way to the top of 120. Keep going to top of 120.
Okay. With the coming of day and night, I will enter the covenant of God, and when evening and morning depart, I will recite God's decrees. God Most High, you are my righteousness. You teach me goodness. You are the fountain of knowledge, the dwelling place of holiness, and the summit of glory. Eternal might and majesty are yours. I will choose whatever you teach me, gladly accepting your judgments. As soon as I move my hands and feet, I will praise your name. When I go out and when I come in, when I lie down and when I rise up. When I rest on my bed, I will sing your praise, and in the company of my friends, I will praise you with the words of my mouth.
Thank you, Stephen.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. להגיד בבוקר הסתך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשוב עין אבל, עלי היגיון בחינו.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רענן. גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. צדיקת עמי And I should have said at the beginning, I see everyone on the screen really singing lustily. Obviously I can't hear you, but I can see that you're singing lustily, and please, people in the room, do sing lustily too. Let's make a sound. I remember talking about this back in those halcyon days before the pandemic at Besborough Road, that we do like to have a good sing in the room. So it's not, although Felicity has a beautiful voice, we don't only want to hear Felicity, we do want to hear everyone singing. I know, but you know, do your best. So we're on the foot of page 121 for Yishtabach, and if you feel comfortable to, please stand. Yishtabach Shimcha Le'ad Malkeinu Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaHaKadosh B'Shamayim u'Ba'aretz Ki Lecha Na'eh Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu Shir u'Shvacha Halel v'Zimra Barachot v'Hodot Me'ata v'Ad Olam Baruch Ata Adonai Habocheh b'Shirei Zimra. And please turn to page 135. 135 for the Baruch Hu. I realise I haven't even considered which direction east might be in this room. Anyone thought about that?
North.
West to the left.
West.
East is that way.
Oh, this way. Okay. So we might. Right in any direction you like, but I might gesture towards that direction. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. Please be seated. We read on page 136. 136. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzei or uverei choshek oseh shalom uverei et hakol hame'ir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha berachamim uvtuvo mechadesh b'kol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chokma asita v'la ha'aretz kinenecha תתברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מורה אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. Would someone like to read for us either in the room or on Zoom on bottom of page 136? Linda, please. That'd be great, thank you.
Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you.
Thank you very much, Linda. We come to the Shema in the middle of page 137. So if you'd like to stand and are comfortable to do so, please do.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Leolam
And please, let's read together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol modecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ela asher anochim zavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibata bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lektecha v'derek uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshatam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני
Elohechem emet. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established, enduring are these words, now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, our rock of our salvation. We have always known you as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you this song.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות, נורא תהילות, אוסף שירה חדשה שבכל גאולים לשמך צפיים יד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד לעולם 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 ועד ידעי
Still feels a little bit strange to be leading from the piano in real life. I've been doing it on Zoom for the past 2 years, but rarely in person, so it's a new experience. So we come to our Amidah, our Tefillah, our standing prayer, the central prayer of the liturgy on page 140. And again, if you're comfortable to, and please do stand.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufia Gitahilatecha Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufia Gitahilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elahei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chazadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocheh Chazdei Avot V'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריע השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומק נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו משני יפה, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לך חיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך. קדוש, קדוש, קדוש אדוני צבאות, מלך על הארץ כבודו.
כבודו מלא עולם.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גדלך. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחה אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גדלך.
ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. And will someone like to read for us at the foot of 142? Maureen, perhaps? Oh, Paul's volunteered. Okay.
Our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, באורי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, באורי
Eloheinu v'Elahei avotenu, ratsei v'mnuchatenu, kadshenu mitzvotecha, v'tenharakenu b'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha, v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'tarcheh libenu le'ovdecha be'emet, v'chanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, b'chava uv'ratzon, Shabbat kodshecha, v'yenuchu va Yisrael mekadshei shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in their love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu leolam va'ed. Sur chayenu, magen yeshenu, ata hu l'dor v'dor, nodeh lecha unsaper tehilatecha. Al chayenu hamsurim biadecha, ve'al nishmotenu hakbodot lach, ve'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, ve'al niflotecha v'tovatecha, shebechol eit, erev v'vokev v'tzocharaim, Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lechodot. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, shalom tova uvracha. Sim, 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 shalom tova uvracha.
הן בחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו. שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל וכל העמים בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום טובה וברכה. שים שלום טובה וברכה. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Now we'll have a silent prayer for a few moments. We'll come together. We've got to say shalom.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol bnei Adam. Oseh shalom bimramav u'yaseh shalom
We're going to continue with the theme, because I thought it was particularly nice, rich, interesting. And it's on page, the theme is Jewish Task. And it's on page 222, and Alan is going to come up and lead it for us.
And Daniel.
And Daniel, you're gonna do a double act. Fantastic. We love a double.
He's little.
So yeah, If you,
Once you go to that mic.
Oh,
what?
That mic. This mic?
You just gather. I think you're fine. I think you're fine. Wait.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So,
you can be seen on the screen. So you're.
Shall I start?
And
yes, you start. Yeah.
You shall be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. The words are Israel's charter, the divine authority for an experience which will bring blessing to humanity. For a kingdom of priests implies something more than a people leading a consecrated but self-contained life. It means a people whose holiness, travelling beyond the national confines, should help to consecrate humanity. A priest presupposes a congregation and a kingdom of priests, a world to minister to. It is too small a task that you should be my servant only to rise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the survivors of Israel.
I will make you a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the world.
I, the Eternal One, have called you for righteousness' sake and taken you by the hand.
I have formed you and destined you to be a covenant people, a light to the nations.
To open blind eyes, to bring captives out of prison.
From the dungeon, those who sit in darkness.
You are my witness, says the Eternal One.
And my servants, whom I have chosen.
Those who are left of Jacob and dispersed amongst many peoples.
Shall be like dew from the Eternal One, like showers on the grass.
God exiled Israel amongst the nations, only so that the proselytes shall add themselves to them.
The sages laid down a good principle. We should so conduct ourselves as to give others cause to say, "Blessed be the God of the Jews."
It is a grave responsibility, this, to be a Jew, and you can't escape from it, even if you choose to ignore it. Ethically or religiously, we Jews can be, and do, nothing light-heartedly. 10 bad Jews may bring help to damn us. 10 good Jews may help to save us. Which minyan will you join?
That's it's Claude Montefiore, that text, by the way, that which is one of the founders of liberal Judaism. I've always liked it. We now come to a poem by Aaron Zeitlin, who's a famous Yiddish poet, and I'm going to read it in Yiddish, and there are rare opportunities in our Siddur that I get to read anything in Yiddish, so obviously I jump at any opportunity to, and I love this poem, and I think it gives something extra, and hopefully you'll get some of the words, but anyway, the translation is on the left. Seine Jid heißt ewig laufen zu Gott. A viele, als man is an Antläufer. Der warten zu Herren allein die Tag. A viele, als man is a Käufer. Skol von Mashiachs Schäufer. Seine Jid heißt nicht kennen a Reus von Gott. A viele, als man will es. Nicht kennen auf Herren te viele zu tun. A viele, noch alle te vieles. A viele, noch alle a vieles. And you see the meaning even when the evens have gone, but I think that the rhyme of te vieles and a vieles is rather lovely when all the conditions are gone. So we're now going to skip to the top of page 225. One of you.
Eternal God of Israel and all humanity, you have called us to your service and summoned us to bear witness to you among the peoples of the earth. Give us grace to fulfill our task with zeal, tempered by wisdom and guided by regard for the faith of others. May our bearing towards our neighbours, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our passion for justice, and our compassion for the suffering show the truth of our faith, that you are the source of all life and the fountain of all goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan and Daniel, for your reading. That's very much appreciated. We now turn to Torah, the Torah service. I'm excited by getting to have a Torah service with an actual Torah. It's still quite new, even though we've had a couple. So it's the first one I'm getting to lead. So we'll do our best to do the actual choreography and not just the mime, which is lovely. So it's on page 481. Page 481. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti unromama Shemo Yachdav. Adonai Hagdula V'Hagvura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Ki Chol B'Shamayim Adonai HaMamlecha v'Hamidnaseh L'chol L'rosh. And please be seated. So we'll hopefully Kevin won't have to fast for too many days for dropping the scroll on the table. But I think we'll be okay. We'll consult the rabbi later.
I was hoping nobody noticed.
So we're reading Parashat Yitro, and the parasha is divided really into three sections. The first about this encounter Moses has with his father-in-law Yitro, who's a Midianite priest, and he's the only non-Israelite who gets the Torah portion named after him, and the kind of he actually is the one that gives Moses advice, saying, stop taking everything on yourself, all this decision-making, this judging, you need to appoint some judges, you have to delegate. So he has a very good advice for Moshe. And the last part of the parasha is really the Ten Commandments. But the part we're going to read is the middle. It's the build-up. It's probably the most dramatic moment, really, in the Torah. And you can imagine it's the moment that if the Torah were a stage production, this was the bit the director would say, we can't afford to stage. It requires thunder, lightning, a wind machine, smoke machine, some kind of mountain and some kind of divine presence appearing
down the mountain.
in some form or another, right? And what's interesting, we have the preparation for it in our reading, God telling Moses what to prepare for, to tell the Israelites, and then we have the thing itself, so God coming down. And it's actually very unclear what the Israelites are supposed to see. Do they really see God, or do they see thunder, the lightning, the fire, the smoke? And it seems the latter, and it seems at the end of the parasha the Israelites say we're too scared to look at, we're scared enough from all these natural phenomena. And the other thing I think is quite amusing about it is that we're told quite soon after well, a little bit later in the Torah that Moses is 120, right? I mean, he does an awful lot of climbing up and down the mountain in this parasha. Up and down, God says up and down again. So he asked a lot of him, does God. So he works hard for his place in our narrative. We're going to call Janet to do the blessing, and then I'll read in Hebrew, and then afterwards we'll read the translation. I've got a handful of, I think 4, if anyone wants to look at a copy in the room, but Stephen will share it on the screen. So if anyone wants to just, okay, no one's too bothered. Let me see if I can remember Janet's Hebrew name. Ta'amod, Simcha, Simcha bas Esther v'Moshe likrat haTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher b'kabonu mikol ha'amim v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. בחודש השישי לצאת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים, ביום הזה, on this day, באו מדבר סיני ויסעו מרדיפים, ויבואו מדבר סיני, ויחנו במדבר, ויחן שם ישראל, נגד חכה. ומשה עלה על האלוהים, ויקרא אליו אדוני מלכך לאמור, כה תאמר לבית יעקב, ותגיד לבני ישראל, אותם ראיתם אשר עשיתי למצרים, ואשא אתכם על כנפי נשרים, ואבוא אתכם אליי. ועתה אם שמוע תשמעו בקולי, ושמעתם את בריתי, והייתם לי סגולה מכל העמים, כי לי כל הארץ, ואתם תהיו לי ממלכת כהנים, וגוי קדוש. אלה הדברים אשר תדבר על בני ישראל, ויבוא משה, ויקרא לזקני העם, וישם לפניהם את כל הדברים האלה, אשר ציווהו אדוני, ויענו כל העם, יחדיו, ויאמרו, כל אשר דיבר אדוני נעשה. וישב משה את דברי העם אל אדוני, ויאמר אדוני אל משה, הנה אנוכי בא אליך, באב הענן, בעבור ישמע העם, דברי עמך, וגם בך יאמינו לעולם. ויגד משה את דברי העם אל אדוני, ויאמר אדוני אל משה, לך אל העם וקידשתם היום ומחר, וקיבצו סמלותיהם וחיו נכונים ליום השישי, כי ביום השישי ירד אדוני לעיני כל עם אל הר סיני, והגבלת את העם סביב לאמור, הישמרו לכם עלות בהר, ונוגע בקצהו כל הנוגע בהר, מות יומות, לא תגע בו יד, כי סקול יסקול, או ירו ירא, אם בהמה או איש, לא יהיה במשק היובל. ההמה. יעלו בהר, וירד משה מן ההר אל העם, יקדש את העם, ויקצו סמלותם. ויאמר אל העם, היו נכונים ל6 ימים, אל תיגשו על אישה. ויהיו ביום השישי, והיית הבוקר, והיהי קולות וברקים וענן, כבד אל ההר, וקול שופר חזק מאוד, ויחרד כל העם אשר במחנה. ויוצא משה את העם לקראת האלוהים מן המחנה, ויתייצבו בתחתית ההר, והר סיני עשן כולו, מפני אשר ירד עליו אדוני באש, ויעל עשנו כעשן. כעשן. הכבשין בסין יחרד כל ההר מאוד, ויהי כל השופר הולק, וחזק מאוד. משה ידבר והאלוהים יענו בקול, וירד אדוני אל הר סיני, אל ראש ההר, ויקרא אדוני אל משה, אל ראש ההר, ויעל משה, ויאמר אדוני אל משה, רד העד בעם, פן יכעסו על אדוני, לראות נפל ממנו רב. וגם הכהנים הניגשים אל אדוני יתקדשהו, פן יפרוץ בהם אדוני. ויאמר משה אל אדוני, לא יוכל העם לעלות אל הר סיני, כי אתה העדותה בנו לאמור. הגבל את ההר וקדשתו. ויאמר אליו אדוני, לך רד ועלית אתה ואהרון עמך, הכהנים והעם אל יכעסו לעלות אל אדוני, פן יפרוץ בם. ירד משה אל העם ויאמר עליהם.
On the third new moon, after the Israelites had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on that very day they entered the wilderness of Sinai. Having journeyed from Rephidim, they entered the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in the wilderness. Israel encamped there in front of the mountain. And Moses went up to God. The Eternal One called to him from the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and declare to the children of Israel, You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. Now then, if you will obey me faithfully and keep my covenant, and you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples. Indeed, all the earth is mine, but you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the children of Israel. Moses came and summoned the elders of the people and put before them all that the Eternal One had commanded him. All the people answered as one, saying, All that the Eternal One has spoken we will do. And Moses brought back the people's words to the Eternal One. And the Eternal One said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, in order that the people may hear when I speak with you, and so trust you ever after. Then Moses reported the people's words to the Eternal One. And the Eternal One said to Moses, Go to the people and warn them to say pure today and tomorrow. Let them wash their clothes. Let them be ready for the third day. For on the third day the Eternal One will come down in the sight of all the people on Mount Sinai. You shall set bounds for the people round about, saying, Beware of going up the mountain or touching the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall be put to death. No hand shall touch that person, but that person shall be either stoned or shot. Beast or human, they shall not live. When the ram's horn sounds a long blast, they may go up on the mountain. Moses came down from the mountain to the people and warned the people to say pure, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, Be ready for the third day, do not go near a woman. On the third day, as morning dawned, there was thunder and lightning and a dense cloud upon the mountain and a very loud blast of the horn, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. Moses led the people out of the camp toward God, and they took their places at the foot of the mountain. Now Mount Sinai was all in smoke, for the Eternal One had come down upon it in fire. The smoke rose like the smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain trembled violently. The blare of the horn grew louder and louder. As Moses spoke, God answered him in thunder. The Eternal One came down upon Mount Sinai, on top of the mountain, and the Eternal One called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. The Eternal One said to Moses, Go down. Warn the people not to break through to the Eternal One to gaze, lest many of them perish. The priests also who come near the Eternal One must stay pure, lest the Eternal One break out against them. But Moses said to the Eternal One, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, Set bounds about the mountain, and sanctify it. So the Eternal One said to him, Go down, and come back together with Aaron, but let not the priests or the people break through to come up to the Eternal One, lest God break out against them. And Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'haye olam natal b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai, notein haTorah.
Shkoya.
Good, well done.
Thank you, Janet. Are you able to lift?
Yeah, should I dropping it?
Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
Thank you. And once the wait till the Torah is down, and then you can be seated. If the Torah is resting, you can rest. This being the principle. So Hannah is going to read the Haftorah for us, and we'll let her introduce that.
I'm reading the Haftorah this morning in loving memory of my aunt, Evka Sharon, who was a founder member of Kibbutz HaOgen, from whence come the Ogen melons. The Haftorah this morning is Isaiah chapter 43, verses 1 to 12. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar b'nviim tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'torah, u'v'moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. But now thus said the Eternal One, who created you, O Jacob, who formed you, O Israel. Fear not, for I will redeem you. I have singled you out by name, you are mine. When you pass through water, I will be with you. Through streams, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be scorched. Through flame, it shall not burn you. For I, the Eternal One, am your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Saviour. I give Egypt as a ransom for you, Nubia and Saba in exchange for you, because you are precious to me and honoured, and I love you. I give human beings in exchange for you and peoples in your stead. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring you a folk from the east, will gather you out of the west. I will say to the north, give back, and to the south, do not withhold. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. All who are linked to my name, whom I have created, formed and made for my glory. Setting free that people, blind though it has eyes, and deaf though it has ears. All the nations assemble as one, the peoples gather. Who among them declared this, foretold to us the things that have happened? Let them produce their witnesses and be vindicated, that people hearing them may say, it is true. My witnesses are you, declares the Eternal One, my servant whom I have chosen, to the end that you may take thought and believe in me, and understand that I am the one. Before me no God was formed, and after me none can exist. None but me, the Eternal One. Beside me none can grant triumph. I alone foretold the triumph, and I brought it to pass. I announced it, and no strange God was among you. So you are my witnesses, declares the Eternal One, and I am God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nevi'im, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Amen. Fire, Hannah. Beautifully read. Thank you. So we're going to continue with our state and community prayers on page 484, and I believe these have already been allocated. So who is doing the prayer for British monarchy and government? Rania gets made to do it every week.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Amen. And before we have the prayer for the community, I'd just like to pay reference to the incident in Texas last week, which we heard about at the end of Shabbat because of the time difference, which they were experiencing last Shabbat morning, and just thinking about all the people in communities, Jewish communities across the world who are going to synagogues again this week, and how we and they are feeling. And thank God everyone got out safely, and the rabbi seemed to have great wisdom and skill in dealing with that situation. And just to say that I wish that we should these sort of incidents are not new, and the right response is always to carry on Jewish life and to not have fear. And in the words of Nachman of Breslov, Kol ha'olam kulo geshet same'od v'ha'ika lo lefached klal. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, and the important thing is not to be afraid. Can we have a prayer for the community now at the bottom of 484, and we'll pause the bottom of the page for names for healing.
Yeah, shall we stop after the first part to acknowledge people who are not well? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Eternal God, as you blessed our congregation in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue, virtual synagogue, to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain.
Please mention any names that are in need of healing that you know about.
I'd like to mention my nephew who has just finished his treatment for cancer, caught COVID, and now, thank goodness, he's on the mend. So he's in my thoughts all the time.
I'm glad he's on the mend. Thank you, Maureen. Anyone else?
Brenda Hunt, who's back in UCL for more chemo.
Right.
And Brenda Newman's daughter, who's very ill.
Debbie Newman.
And my son David, who is recovering from COVID.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad.
In our community, Ruth Eva Fiegel, Gideon Fiegel, who's 95 tomorrow. Please God.
Gideon's 95 tomorrow.
And as always, I'd like to mention my mother-in-law Mabel.
Okay. My friend Soba, my friend Amy, and the father of my friend Daniel.
Thank you very much, Rania. Is that everybody? I think so. Okay, thanks, Maureen. Please. So we just before we go on, we wish a full recovery, a refuah shlema, or as much recovery as possible to all those people.
מי שבהרה אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. אנא רפאנה, אל נא רפאנה לה, אנא רפאנה, אל נא רפאנה לה. Maureen.
May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed. And may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
Thank you very much. And the prayer for Israel, who is reading that?
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with their neighbors and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Amen. Thank you, George, and thank you all of you for your readings. At the foot of page 486.
Yahallelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkav shemo levado. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehiyah lechol hasidav, livnei Israel, am geror. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
On page 489, we don't really have any ark to close. We've already covered the Torah, so we'll sing to the Torah anyway. Ki lecha tov natati lechem, torati al ta'azovu. Behold, a good doctrine has been given to you. Do not forsake it.
Ki lekach tov natit lachem, torati al ta'azovu, et haimi lamahazikim ba,
Thank you. Looking at the time, I'm inclined just to go straight on, rather than keep you here too long. I half composed something, but I'm not fussed at all. So, did everyone think that's a good scheme that we just continue? No, Hannah does not think this is a good scheme.
I want to hear your sermon.
Maureen, what's Maureen's view on the subject?
I'm going to sit down.
I think we should argue for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, I want to hear Maureen. Maureen is the judge. She'll come up with a final verdict on the subject.
I like a sermon.
Right.
I do like a sermon.
Okay. Right, it'll be very quick. I'll do a short version.
Yeah, okay.
A short version, okay?
Okay, look, I'll say a few words to add to it as well.
To make it longer.
Yeah.
Sit down. If you will obey me faithfully and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples. Indeed, all the earth is mine, but you shall be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. A few words that have caused an awful lot of trouble. Both, I think, in Judaism and in Christianity, this notion of divine election, of being a chosen people, which of course Christianity inherits with the notion that the church is a new Israel. So I think this, for me, explains this is a core strangeness of Judaism, queerness of Judaism, in the sense that on the one hand, it is monotheistic. It posits a universal God, but seemingly a God that is primarily or exclusively concerned with one group of people. And I think this can be explained by its early history. If you could think about it, both a pure polytheism makes sense. Lots of gods, and they're all concerned with their own specific people. That kind of works. A pure monotheism, one God that's equally concerned with everyone, kind of works. The history of Israelite religion kind of began somewhere in the middle. It comes out of polytheism, it comes out of the polytheistic world with many gods, and then comes into the new monotheistic world of one God, and it's got a foot in both camps. And I think that explains this sort of strange middle ground that I think persists to this day. I think it's still with us. And lots of attempts to explain this in Jewish history, including all denominations, including our own. And just a couple of examples, observations about the verses themselves. It says, if you will obey. The Israelites have to do something in order to be treasured. It's not just a permanent status that you get whatever you do. Segula, mikol ha'amim, a treasure among all the peoples. Doesn't necessarily imply the Israelites are the only ones that God has a relationship with. Israel might be God's segula, other people, God's treasure. Other people might be other things to God. Beloved, known, friend, warriors, builders. There's a few references in the Tanakh to God having relationships to other people, such as the Ethiopians and the Egyptians. And it says, I brought out the Egyptians from here. I brought out the Ethiopians from here. And the kingdom of priests, and I don't think people often stop to think through the implications, doesn't just mean a kingdom of leaders. The Kohanim, the priests, are a specific group. And unlike the tribes, they don't get to own their own land. They're a separate group whom the others provide for. In exchange, they spend their lives doing ritual acts for the benefit of the whole. I think that's the model that the Torah is suggesting for the Israelites here, a diasporic group whose performance of mitzvot benefits the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by the topic, and many Jewish thinkers engage with it. Two who firmly rejected were Benedict Spinoza and Mordechai Kaplan, and coincidentally they both got excommunicated. Mordechai Kaplan by the Orthodox rabbin in 1945 in the United States. And I'm just going to share two modern responses to this by Jewish philosophers. The first is by the French Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, and he's in the context of Talmudic texts where a group of workers are described as being the descendants of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, which should normally be interpreted to mean they are Israelites. And Levinas says we're not in the presence of a racist idea. I have it from an eminent master. Each time Israel is mentioned in the Talmud, it means a people who has received the law, and as a result, a human nature which has reached the fullness of its responsibilities and its self-consciousness. the descendants of human beings who are no longer childlike. So defined, the heirs of Abraham are of all nations. Any man truly is no doubt of the line of Abraham. But for Levinas, it's not just being any person, it's any people that has truly taken on ethics and has a sense of responsibility towards the other, and that infinite responsibility which Levinas talks about. And it's quite strong stuff, and that kind of universalizing of Israel is quite unusual, I think, in the tradition. And I'm just going to share a couple of quotes from an article by the British Jewish philosopher Brian Klug, who's at Oxford. Some of you may know of or know. And he also is troubled by this contradiction or this queerness at the centre of the centre of tradition. He describes it as the ultimate chutzpah, the notion of the people of God. And he says a couple of things which are quite tricky. And he says, his explanation: when God enters the frame, the whole of the frame shudders. If he singles something out, that thing in question is not granted special privilege over and against everything else. Rather, it is raised to a higher power. The part, while remaining a part, is not merely a part. It comes to signify or stand for the whole. I told you he was a philosopher, so it's a little tricky. But it suggests that Israel doesn't change. There's still the humble house of Jacob, the ragtag mob that staggered out of slavery in Egypt. So what makes Israel greater? Nothing. In fact, they're the lowest of the low, the band of wretches who have been downtrodden for generations and have no prior experience of exercising sovereignty. God has a penchant for the humble and oppressed. So the idea for Klug is that the people of God is an example, really. It's not the exclusive idea. They are just like the rest of every kind, so every people can recognise themselves in them. They are less a light, more an illuminated mirror to the nations. And this is how the Torah works. It tells a universal story through a particular case. One couple, Adam and Eve. One individual, Abraham. One people in Israel. In each case, the flesh and blood characters in the story seem to transcend themselves, but never by being abstractions. And he also, interestingly, talks about the way that we, as call ourselves Jews, take on the story of the Israelites. We claim it as ours, we claim ourselves as descendants, where that isn't necessarily true. He says we're looking at the book, but the book isn't necessarily looking out of us. The people of the book remain in the book, and we're the ones from the outside. So I think that kind of questions the ethnocentric side of it. And he concludes by saying, if we stand out as a people, it's only to signify that none of the nations stand out above any other. For seen in the celestial light that pervades the whole creation, the Jewish people are to the rest of humankind what an instance is to an universal, an example, a case in point, illustrative, not illustrious. And just a couple more things on this. I'm always struck by the number of people in history who have considered themselves chosen in some way. I remember learning about it, an example about the Venetians in history had this status. And if you search, pretty much everyone thinks this. They might not use the same language, they might not use language, but they're special. They are especially important or needed. And I think that's helpful to understand it, that it is a human need, that our text is one of many texts. Because perhaps to get through life, to get through all the difficulties, all the struggles, you can't believe things are random. You have to believe that you as a group matter and your decisions matter and they are being considered by a broader force than you. And maybe we need to believe that as individuals through all those anonymous acts we need to do each day to live ethically and do good. We have to believe that we're watching and that someone really cares about us. So I think chosenness is a difficult, complex idea, but I think maybe it's one we need, even if we interpret it in a very different way. Okay, that's my on one foot version. Hope I didn't keep you too long. We'll conclude with the Aleinu on page 5.
May I briefly interrupt? Because I've got to go. Could I just remind people that on Thursday, the 27th of January, it's Holocaust Memorial Day, a national one, and there is a national service at 7 p.m, lasting about an hour, and you can get it online. I've sent details to Kevin, but it's very simple link, hmd.org.uk/ceremony. And there's also a program on BBC 2 at 9 o'clock. But the HMD National Service is at 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock. Thank you very much, and sorry for interrupting.
Thanks, George. Page 520, please rise. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, l'atet gedula li'otzeh bereshit, asher sam chelkenu li'ached et shemo, v'gor aleinu l'chamlik malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlakim, hakadosh baruch hu. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. And the foot of page 521.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
come to memorial prayers. Even when they are gone, the departed are with us. They inspire us to live as, in their higher moments, they themselves thought to live. We remember them now. They remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing. And we are thinking of those that have yahrzeits at this time. Michael Berman, father of Gina Greenglass. Edith Collick, mother of Sandra Rose. Florence Collick, grandmother of Sandra Rose. Isidore Collick, grandfather of Sandra Rose. Annie Krimgoltz, mother of Phyllis Sanderson. Ruth Lester, sister of Sandra Rose. Lily Lyons, mother of Helen Sinclair. Bunty Phillips, aunt of Lindsay Cohen. Evka Sharon, aunt of Hannah Schlesinger. I wish you long life, those of you who are here. And are there any other names you'd like to mention?
I'm going to mention Meatloaf. His real name was Marvin, actually, but absolutely Spartica, very creative, imaginative.
Okay, so we'll turn to the Kaddish. There's no more names to mention. If you want to unmute, feel free to do so, despite the lack of sync. On page 524. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'olma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dekol beit Yisrael b'galav zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarak la'olam u'l'olmei almaya. Yitbara v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitmam v'yitnaseh v'yitada v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, trishbachata v'nechamata, damiran b'olma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'hayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol b'nei adam, v'imru amen. Be seated. And Kevin, maybe be briefish.
I don't do brief. Actually, I'm going to start with one. mention something else. The theme of Yitro is about delegation, and me and Han were discussing it's one of our favourite portions. And in my role, my two roles now, delegation is a really big part of it. And I'm going to embarrass somebody who I do a lot of delegating to, Linda Pace. And I heard a rumour it's your birthday today, Linda. And you've got your family with you, have you? I've seen you've got some people with you.
Yeah, they gate crashed the service.
Yeah, they go, you're welcome. So give us a wave. So I think with the family present, I think it'll be appropriate for us to all sing happy birthday to Linda.
Sure.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Linda. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again, Linda, for all the help that you give me in the community in a very quiet, unseen way. Also, Joseph, gosh, how many times in the last 2 years when I've had discussions with Joseph about services, when are we going to do services in person? Even if that wasn't the theme of the conversation. And I said, please God, one day. Well, the day has happened, and it's just so lovely to actually stand next to Joseph, having led beautifully a service face to face, and I saw you beaming throughout. I think it really means a lot to you, and it means a lot to us to have you leading, and please God, other occasions. And also Felicity, again, I've seen you occasionally through that little rectangular screen. Get my dimensions wrong, but again, it's lovely to actually have you in the same room singing absolutely wonderfully. And also, thank you, Tom, for pressing all the buttons, sort of in the background, none seen, unheard, but does a valuable job. And Stephen for enabling it to happen on Zoom as well. So, thank you. So that's kind of all the thanks. And also thanks to Janet. I think you've done about 4 or 5 different mitzvahs sort of today for me, which helps. Just ahead, that next Shabbat we're back to Zoom, and it's Andrew Goldstein, who always takes a lovely uplifting service. Stephen, is there anything you want to share about any future events? Here we go. Oh, and there's Hannah. Hannah, do you want to reread the Haftorah? Here we go.
Yes, if you're, George obviously mentioned the National Holocaust Memorial Day event, but there is a more local one if you prefer, which starts at 7 o'clock stream live from the Elliott Hall. Full details of how to sort of log in and link are on the website. That's Harrow's Holocaust Memorial Day event. And then on Wednesday, Tian Torah at 11 o'clock, one of the rabbis will lead a Tian Torah session. That's all I had to say.
Okay, and I'm done. So what are we going to finish off with?
Adon Olam.
Oh, I know that one.
Nice jolly tune, which hopefully you can join in. Page 525. 1. Adon Olam Hashem Allah, ay ay Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, ay ay ay. Nasa behefsakot, ay ay behefsakot, azay melech shemo nikra, ay ay ay. Ve'acharei kitlot hakol, levado yimloch hora, ve'hu haya, ve'hu hoye, ve'hu yishe betifara, ve'hu echad ve'en sheni, ay ay ve'en sheni, להמשילו להכבירה, ay ay ay, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ay ay בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ay ay, והוא אלי, והי גלי, וצופף לי ואת הרע, והוא ניסי ומנוסי, ונתחסי ליום אחד, ויעדו אף כילוהי, ואת אישן והעירה, Elohi, Beviati, Adonai, Valoi. So we will move on to Kiddush. Janet is busy preparing it as we speak. So Kevin will assist. And so if you've got any wine or bread at your home...
No wine, it's grape juice only.
If you've got anything...
Joseph, can I just say something?
Yes.
I thought that that was worthwhile, your sermon, because I thought that the fact that we are an example for humanity is a very good subject for discussion at another day. And I think you could incorporate that in something, because it makes sense to me, because we're not chosen, we're not just the people, everybody's the people, but there has to be one story encompassing everybody. I thought that was very good.
Thank you very much, Maureen.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll definitely talk further about it in future events. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתו ביני ובין ישראל אותי לעולם ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש תבריא Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei v'ri ha'gofen. L'chaim. Someone else want to? Janet wants to say the best thing as well?
Go on, Janet, sing you've got in your hand.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Thank you again.
Wish you a good Shabbat and a good rest of the weekend to everyone, especially on Zoom. We'll probably end the Zoom in a second. So
yeah. Stephen, can you wish long life to your mother as well?
Yeah, I will do, Kevin. Thank you very much.
She's in our thoughts.
Yep.
And good dancing from, I noticed Rania and Linda were rocking.
And good glasses.
And
I mean, those red glasses.
It makes her look. It makes her look intelligent.
Oh.
Oh, was that nasty?
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you for this fantastic service.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Bye.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Linda, again.
Bon anniversaire.
I've always like that, yeah.
I love it. We're really, it's increasingly over the last 2-3 years. But we're joining, the congregation is joining in.
Bye, everyone.
Especially all this.
Bye-bye, Stephen.
Bye.
I've been yelling my head off singing.
You'll have some
People feel confident at home because no one else is listening, right? And then they can bring that back with them.
Thank you. Without you, I'll be at home now, so I'm pleased that you're able to.
That's right.
Ideal.
Yes, I hope so. You're going to the rabbi's house straight.
Right, folks, I'm going to end the
Okay.
the meeting.
Thank you,
shortly.
Stephen.
Let them talk to each other as you do it. and eat.
To be honest, it doesn't make
Shabbat shalom, everyone.